and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all. It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Fix-It presents Legendary Gaming. Happy Monday to you, my friends. Good to see everyone. Well, as I've said in the past, I don't really see you. It's rather one way here. But I do get to read your comments and see what you think. And on days like this, I like to tell you what I think about certain subjects. And today is one that we could say is overlapping. This is an overlapping subject. We know that I have done a lot of videos on Dungeons & Dragons, some videos on the role-playing game, a lot of videos on different aspects of the board game parts of, Dungeons & Dragons, and all the games that have come from that. Done a lot of videos on that. But what I want to talk about is something that I think potentially has a lot more fun in it. And that's some really good Dungeons & Dragons reskins. Taking popular games, well-known games, and literally adding the Dungeons & Dragons theme to it. There's a few out on the market that I think actually work well. And there's also a few I have in my mind that I'm wondering why they haven't done yet, and I want to talk to you about and see what you think. So come on now, join me down the table, and we'll talk about some fantastic Dungeons & Dragons reskins. Yeah, Dungeons & Dragons. So as my regulars know, this is one of my favorite games, literally of all time. Since I've been 8 years old, I've been enraptured by Gary Gygax and Dave Arnson's creation. I've been there since I was 8 years old, and I'll be there till I'm 80 plus ad infinity, as far as I'm concerned. But besides the Dungeons & Dragons game, the role-playing game, over the years, they've come out with some extra games, some different games, some side games that aren't role-playing games, that are board games and dice games. And I have talked about a lot of the games already, the fusions that they've done. I've talked about the Dungeons & Dragons Monopoly game, and there's also the Dungeons & Dragons Clue game, and I've talked about that. They did a fusion, a reskinning of rock, paper, scissors they called Rock, Paper, Wizards. And that was successful enough that they came out with an expansion for that. So we definitely see that there are games that are very easily, or at least they're fun. Maybe it wasn't so easy for them to design. I don't know, I'm not on that side of the table. But definitely these games that are fun. Betrayal at the House on the Hill. They reskinned as Betrayal at Baldur's Gate for Dungeons & Dragons. These reskinnings are popular and they work. But it's come to my attention that there are more games that I'm surprised haven't had a Dungeons & Dragons reskin. Like, I'm really surprised there's been no Dungeons & Dragons Game of Life. Now, the simplest way to do it, of course, is taking the path of good or evil. Maybe during the course of the game, some of the life things like you get, like in the normal game of life, you're getting careers in the university, where you're getting classes. Then you become a class, and a course class, a dual class, a multi-class. That could be very interesting. I would really like to see a Dungeons & Dragons fusion overlay with the game of life. Why not? They did to Monopoly. Why not the game of life? It would be different. It would be fun. I would definitely be online to get that game. I think a real no-brainer here is the game of Risk. Really, a Dungeons & Dragons Risk. Has that not been done before? I did a quick search. I didn't see anything. Maybe I missed something. I mean, I'm sure that there are board games, battle games placed in the Dungeons & Dragons world that I didn't come across and I missed that are Risk-like. But Risk. Why don't we just get Dungeons & Dragons Risk? And if it does well enough, they can do a small line of this in each of the different worlds. Like do one Forgotten Realms set in Faerun, right? Do one on Oerth set in Greyhawk, and have the different factions in both these different versions of the game have different bonuses, abilities, troops. It'd be different enough that it would justify itself, I think. But no, I haven't seen a Dungeons and Dragons Game of Risk. I'm not even a big Game of Risk fan. But again, if there was a Dungeons and Dragons overlay with that, I would get it. Stratego! Me and T-Bone played that game when we were kids a lot. We played it constantly. We weren't playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's a good chance we were playing Stratego. At least for a few years straight, we were really into that. So I can imagine that with the Dungeons and Dragons characters and classes taking the place of the military ranks. That would be great with some really fun artwork on the pieces too. Yeah, come on, let's do that. And instead of a bomb, it's like a fireball spell. It writes itself, people. Come on, why is this not in existence? Why isn't it on the shelves to buy? Now, Battleship is a game I sort of had fun with. It wasn't always my go-to game when I was a kid, but I enjoyed it enough that if somebody wanted to play it, I'd play it without kvetching about it. But what about a Dungeons and Dragons Battleship? And instead of now you could do it with medieval style ships in a fantasy game, but why do that? If this is Dungeons and Dragons, then shouldn't a Battleship game be with dragons or other flying creatures, let's say? If they really wanted to have fun with it, then they could take it an extra level and also add height. I don't know how well that would work out. That just popped in my mind right now while I was talking about it. But even without that, a Dungeons and Dragons based game of Battleship with the dragons taking hits and flying around, I have a feeling that would be selling. And even one other idea here. Even if we went for the children's games, right? How come there's no hungry dragons instead of hungry hippos? With the 4 different colored dragon heads that you get to control all coming in and trying to eat the marbles that are maybe gold colored to represent gold coins or something? That coin wouldn't really work too well, because the marbles rolling around is really what makes it difficult and fun to catch them from someone else. But at least make them gold or something. Is I think the standard game, are they like red? Maybe? I can't remember. It's been so long. But for this, definitely gold. Dragons look gold. Yeah. There are so many options. There are so many things that can be done, I think, with the Dungeons and Dragons title for board games that hasn't been attempted yet. I really want to see these things, because I want to add them to my collection. And I can't if they don't exist. So what do you think? What other games out there? Shoots and ladders for little kids? Right? Shoots and Dragons? I don't know. What other games do you think, like Operation? What would be the funny things in Operation? If they came out with a Dungeons and Dragons Operation themed game, would it be on a dragon? Or maybe a mind flayer? Right? That'd be interesting, right? But what would be the funny parts? Like the funny bone, the bread basket. What would be the fantasy version of that in a Dungeons and Dragons game of Operation? I don't know, but that sounds fun. What are you thinking of? What have you thought of in the past, or maybe what have I now inspired you to think of would be a good fusion, a good overlay, combination of this existing game that people know and enjoy with Dungeons and Dragons overlaid on it? That's what I think, and those are some of the thoughts I've had about what would be fun. Now I want to hear from you. And then, who knows, maybe, just maybe, someone will see this video that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and it'll get made. I mean, I doubt it, but you never know. Thanks for joining me. I'm your buddy Big John at G for Two Gun Pixel presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.